Recently, Resident Evil 9 has been leaked all over the internet. There's a ton of rumors regarding this game, and they sound very interesting, so we're going to cover them in today's video. What's up, everybody? This is McStan, and welcome back to the channel. Usually, I don't cover leaks on this channel, but these leaks were kind of unavoidable. Literally, every time I open up the internet, there's something about Resident Evil 9 on there. So I thought, you know what, I've seen the leaks, so let's talk about them. I usually try to avoid leaks simply because I don't want to be spoiled for games, and I love Resident Evil, so I try to stay away from them. With that being said, if you don't want to be spoiled or hear anything that could possibly spoil you on Resident Evil 9, feel free to skip this video. But without any further ado, let's get straight into these leaks. So, where do these leaks come from? Apparently, they are coming from some playtesters who got to play some test versions of Resident Evil 9, and supposedly there are two different test versions that were played during this time frame. Now, this sounds very legit to me because I have had insiders in the past leak things from games that they have playtested, and everything that I've received personally from playtesters has been 100% legit. For a little bit of insight, I was actually leaked some information about the Resident Evil 3 remake from a playtester probably about a year to a year and a half before the game was actually announced. So I kind of knew pretty much what Resident Evil 3 remake was going to consist of before it actually was even announced. And playtesters have kind of nothing to lose for leaking information like this, so it sounds legit to me simply because of my own experience with dealing with playtesters. But anyway, what did these supposed playtesters actually leak? So let's start with the characters. So they are saying that there will be two different playable scenarios in this game, and the two main characters will be Jill Valentine and Leon S. Kennedy. This is actually really exciting news to me. These are my two favorite characters from the franchise, and I actually made a video about 2 months ago talking about what I wanted to see come to Resident Evil 9, and this is exactly what I wanted to see. But instead, I thought that Chris Redfield was going to be a lead, but I wanted Leon. So it turns out that Jill and Leon, according to these leaks, are going to be the main characters, which is really, really awesome. Now, moving on to some supporting characters, they say that Chris Redfield and Barry Burton will be returning to Resident Evil 9 in some sort of supporting role, so they will be side characters in this game, which is also really exciting news to me. I love Chris and I love Barry. We haven't actually seen Barry in a main title game in a very, very long time, so this is really, really cool to see. Now, they also say that Jill will dress more tactically like she did in the Resident Evil 5 DLC Lost in Nightmares. So here's a picture of that just in case you're wondering how she looked in that game. They are also saying that Leon is dressed more like Resident Evil Damnation, the movie. And they say Jill looks like how she looked in the movie Death Island. So basically, she's gonna look like the Resident Evil 3 remake version of herself because that's what she looked like in Death Island. And they also state that Leon looks much older. Now, moving on to the story elements that have been leaked. So it says that the game is set 4 years after Resident Evil Village. Now, this is actually more complicated than you think because Village was set in the year 2021, but it also had a DLC called Shadows of Rose that was set in the year 2037. So this game could either take place in 2025 or it could take place in 2041. So I don't really know which route they're taking here because they did state that Leon looks much older, so it could be the latter and it could be set in the future. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see, but nonetheless, if it is set in 2025, I do expect this game to be released in 2025. Now, they also state that Jill is from the BSAA and Leon is from DSO, and they are sent to investigate an island where the company who created Evelyn is based. The company is creating mass clones of Evelyn with the Megamycete. So a little bit of backstory. Evelyn was created from the Megamycete. She's the main villain of Resident Evil 7. And she kind of created the molded enemies that we see in that game. And the Megamycete was kind of brought to our attention in Resident Evil Village, which is kind of like the beginning of all the viruses and parasites in the Resident Evil universe. So this is actually really interesting. I love Resident Evil lore, and I kind of like how they are bringing things back to the very beginning. They even did this in the Resident Evil 4 remake, so really, really cool stuff to see. Next up, they say that Chris and Barry will support Jill and Leon via radio calls. So, Chris and Barry are going to be on comm support. They also state that Rose Winters is mentioned in the playtest. So, Rose will be a part of this game in some way. They also state that Rose's blood is used to create a vaccine for the island residents. So this is actually surprising to me. I didn't think that there would be residents on the island. I thought the island would be more of a place where they would test things, right? More of like a laboratory. So apparently this island has inhabitants. They also state that Jill and Leon will both be infected with the Megamycete. So it's kind of actually funny when you think about it, because both Jill and Leon have been infected with viruses / parasites before. Jill was infected by the Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, and Leon was infected with the Las Plagas parasite in Resident Evil 4. So maybe they have some like built up immune systems because of, you know, the infections that they have received in the past. I guess we will have to wait and see. It also states that Blue Umbrella will make a return, and that's the new company that Chris Redfield works for. And that kind of brings me back to Jill Valentine still working for the BSAA, because it seemed like in Resident Evil Village, Chris had kind of a falling out with the BSAA, and he really didn't like what they were doing. So it kind of is weird to me that Jill's with the BSAA and Chris is with Blue Umbrella. And I guess we're going to have to explore that a little bit more in Resident Evil 9 if these leaks happen to be true. They also state that Resident Evil 9 will conclude the RE7 in the Village Megamycete storyline. So basically, this is going to actually carry on the story from the Ethan Winters saga. Now, next up, they leaked some locations. So of course, it's set on an island. We got that from the story leaks. There will be an abandoned hospital, which I love the hospital settings in these games. It takes me back to Resident Evil 3. There's going to be some caves. Okay, so this is like RE4 village type stuff. Abandoned houses. There's a dark forest, an abandoned factory. So that's kind of like Resident Evil Village, where they had the factory setting, right? There also will be a laboratory. Of course there's a laboratory. You can't have Resident Evil without a laboratory, because they're always making some crazy stuff, right? And there will also be a temple. So this kind of makes me think of Resident Evil Village with the supernatural stuff, and that kind of brings me back to Evelyn being a part of this game, or clones of Evelyn. She's a very supernatural being, right? The enemies have also been leaked. They also say there will be some evolved zombies. They're more like Ganados from Resident Evil 4, and they can use melee weapons. I'm totally on board with this. I like the Ganados, especially the Ganados from the RE4 remake. I think they're the perfect enemy. Enemies worship the moon and have moon tattoos on their arms, so it's kind of like a cult, Los Illuminados kind of vibes I'm getting here. They also sing to the moon while looking out to the sea. Once again, cult stuff. It says Leon will be stalked by a constant enemy. Now, this I'm kind of torn about. I don't really like stalker enemies. Honestly, the only good stalker enemy, in my opinion, was Jack Baker. I didn't like Mr. X. I mean, Nemesis had to be a stalker enemy because that's just who he is. And Lady Dimitrescu was kind of just like, to me. So, I mean, if they do it right, it could be cool, like Jack Baker, but I don't know, man. I just don't want an annoying stalker enemy like Mr. X. I did not really like Mr. X because of how annoying he was, right? Jill will be attacked by the Goat Man, so I don't know who the Goat Man is. Is that a stalker enemy? Is that a mini boss? Is that a main boss? I guess we'll find out. And the main villain is called Mr. Simon. Okay, so we're getting a name drop on the main villain. The development says that the playtests were conducted in April and September. Jill's abandoned hospital section was playtested in April, and Leon's section in the forest was playtested in September. So that is it for this video. Those are all the leaks and rumors, and this is the part of the video where you come in. I would love to hear from you in the comment section on what you think about these leaks, and of course, what you want to see in Resident Evil 9 yourself. So definitely sound off below, and I will see you down there. Of course, like this video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe and turn on that bell so you don't miss anything that I bring you. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.